Any seasoned Football Manager player will no doubt have heard of the Club and Country Challenge, in which you choose a club that plays in another nation's league and try to take them to the top, whilst also providing top-class players for the national team. San Marino have been the most famous example over the years, although San Marino Calcio, the club, is now sadly defunct. But we also have FC Andorra, who play in the Spanish league and were my choice of team in Football Manager 2020. We've got FC Wards, who play in the Swiss leagues but are actually from Liechtenstein. Now, winning top leagues like Serie A, like La Liga, like the Swiss Challenge League with such a club is, of course, a challenge. Taking them on to Champions League glory is a challenge. Why don't we think something a bit bigger than coming from just outside a nation? What about trying to win the Champions League with a club that's not even in Europe? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at them. 6 non-European teams who could win the UEFA Champions League. Now, an important point to make before we go any further: the clubs and examples I'm going to give are of teams that are geographically outside Europe. I'm not making any comment on the political side of things. I'm not suggesting these clubs belong anywhere other than where you can find them. This isn't political at all. It's just a bit of football trivia, so don't start. Well, the most obvious place to start is Israel. This is a team that former Asian Cup champions, but for reasons far too political for this channel. They were ousted from the Asian Football Confederation sometime in the 1970s. Through much of the 80s, they participated in World Cup qualifying as a guest in either the European or even the Oceania qualifying pool. But eventually in 1992, Israeli clubs made their first appearances in European competition and were the Israeli FA was accepted as a full member of UEFA. So since then, Israel has competed in the UEFA qualifiers, both for the European Championship and the World Cup, and Israeli clubs have taken part in UEFA competitions. And they've even had teams reach the group stages of the Champions League, with the likes of Maccabi Tel-Aviv, Maccabi Haifa and Hapoel Tel Aviv achieving that feat. Now, if you want the challenge of winning the UEFA Champions League with a non-European team in Israel, well, you've got 2 whole divisions to choose from of non-European teams. But why not go for the big boys? Why not go for a team like Maccabi Tel Aviv? Now, long-term viewers of my channel will know this team has featured on my channel before due to their excellent youth facilities. You see here, excellent youth facilities. They've got top-level youth recruitment and junior coaching, so they featured in my New Gen Nation series as a team that produces quality youngsters. And they are the most decorated team in Israeli football history. 24 league titles, 23 national cups, 6 league cups. They've also had continental success. Back in the days when Israel were in the AFC, they won the AFC Champions League on 2 occasions. So you could take over this club and make them the first team in the history of the world, as far as I know, to win the Champions League on 2 different continents. From a country that is geographically in Asia to one that is mostly geographically in Asia, Turkey. So this is a country that straddles 2 continents, with its northwestern corner officially part of Europe. It's also home to the only city in the world to sprawl across 2 continents, Istanbul. In Istanbul you have the possibly the only stadium in the world from which you can see another continent, the Beşiktaş Arena, which is right on the banks of the Bosphorus. Now, Turkey has been a member of UEFA since 1962, but like Israel, had previously competed in Asian qualifiers for the World Cup. However, for footballing purposes, it is very much a European nation, despite 97% of its landmass technically being in Asia. Turkish clubs have made their mark in European competition, with Galatasaray winning the UEFA Cup in 2000 and also the Super Cup later that same year. Alas, they are not a team to have broken continental boundaries, because they are located on the European side of Istanbul. So if you want a team from the Asian side of Turkey that stands a decent chance of Champions League and European success, then just look across the Bosphorus to Fenerbahce, one of Turkey's big 3 and second only to Galatasaray in terms of Turkish league titles. The Yellow Canaries boast a passionate fan base and an impressive stadium. They have, however, struggled financially and struggled on the pitch in recent years, so it will be a bit of a challenge to re-establish them as the top side in Turkey and then take them on to European glory. We also have an honourable mention here for Hatayspor, recently promoted to the Turkish top flight and from the region of Antakya, or Antioch for you Holy Hand Grenade fans. Now, Antakya is land that used to be part of Syria until a border dispute and then a referendum, a much disputed referendum, in the 1930s saw that area cede to join Turkey. It's still claimed by Syria to this day, so it offers you the possibility to take another technically Asian club to European glory. We'll return to Asia later in this list, but for now we're going to shift our focus to the great continent of Africa. We're going to travel all the way to the other end, the western end of the Mediterranean, and the territory of Melilla. Situated on the north coast of Africa, this territory is actually an autonomous part of Spain, and yes, as you've probably guessed, this is very much disputed by Morocco. So does Melilla have a football team? Step forward, Unión Deportivo Melilla. Currently in the Spanish third tier, the Segunda División B, this is a team that has undergone various mergers and rebrandings over the years. But it is a team that, apart from brief periods in the second tier in the 1950s and 1960s, has spent much of its existence in the lower regional leagues of Spanish football. So can you take them up higher than they've ever been before to the promised land of La Liga? And then can you take this team from the North African coastline to Champions League success? Staying in Spain and technically staying in Africa, or more accurately just off the western coast of Africa, we come to the Canary Islands. Now, this collection of islands is an autonomous region of Spain that lies just 62 nautical miles off the coast of Africa and is geographically part of the African continental shelf. Canary Islands, of course, is a popular destination for sun-worshipping tourists from around the world, and it's also home to several football teams. This includes some names that have reached the top table of La Liga before and have also competed in Europe. For the purposes of this guide, we're going to shine a spotlight on the oldest team in the Canary Islands, Club Deportivo Tenerife. Established in 1912, they've spent much of their history in the second and third tiers of Spanish football. They briefly tasted the glory of La Liga in the 61-62 season, but it was not until the 90s that they became established in the top flight, but they did then qualify for the UEFA Cup on 2 occasions, even making it to the semi-finals in 1997. They've since, though, slipped back and spent most of their time since then in the second division, punctuated by the odd return to the top flight and a couple of tumbles down to Segunda B. Can you return them to the top flight and take them on a quest for European gold? As we did an honourable mention in Turkey, we'll do one here as well. Unión Deportiva Las Palmas, from one of the other Canary Islands and Tenerife's biggest rivals, of course. They also start out in the second tier. They're also a team that has been in the top flight and has been in the UEFA Cup before, so the same challenge applies. Take them to the top of La Liga, take them to the top of Europe. Now, if we're going to count the Canary Islands as technically part of the African continental shelf, logic and geography dictates that we include the Portuguese Madeira Islands as well. And Madeira has a strong footballing pedigree, being home to 3 teams that have regularly featured in the Portuguese top flight over the years. Those teams being Marítimo, Nacional de Madeira and União de Madeira. Indeed, Nacional de Madeira was the starting club of a certain player you may have heard of who would later go on to play for Sporting Lisbon, Manchester United, Real Madrid and Zebre. Now, all 3 of these teams are considerations for this challenge. When did it become a challenge? Though I should point out União de Madeira have slipped back and currently start in the third tier, and with there being a lot of league restructuring going on at the end of the first season in Portugal, you probably want to steer clear of that. Nacional and Marítimo both start the game in the top flight in the Liga NOS. But it is Maritimo who have the strongest European pedigree, having been UEFA Cup regulars across the 1990s and early 2000s. So can you take control of this team and build them up? First of all, to overhaul those pesky mainland Big Three boys, Porto, Benfica and Sporting, and then take them on to European glory? Of course you can. And as promised, we finally return to Asia. And another league in Football Manager 2021 that is actually spread across 2 continents, the Russian League. Russia is, of course, the largest country in the world, and of course, I mean in geographical land area terms, alright? And it's therefore home to one of the most widely dispersed leagues in the world. Now, while most of the clubs are clustered in and around Moscow and in the western part of the country, there are a few clubs that are out in central Russia or even out in the east, very much deep into the Asian territory. Perhaps most famously you have FC Luch Vladivostok, who have played in the European top flight. They played there from 2006 to 2008, causing jet lag and scheduling headaches for the rest of the league. Sadly though, as you can see here, Vladivostok have recently been relegated, so they are not actually in a playable league at the start of the game. But there is another team out in the east that we could consider. Step forward then, SKA Khabarovsk. I feel like I should be saying ski at the end of that name. Now, this is a team located some 5,296 miles away from Moscow, yet only about 19 miles away from the border with China. They are currently the easternmost team in the playable top 2 Russian leagues. And despite being around in both the Soviet and the Russian League eras, they're not a team that's enjoyed a huge amount of success. They've been to the top flight once. That was quite recently in 2017 when they won a promotion playoff. Unfortunately, they only lasted 1 season before being relegated again. So can you take this team that is closer to China than the Czech Republic to Champions League glory? So there you have it, 6 non-European teams, along with a few alternative options that you could taste UEFA Champions League success with. If you have enjoyed today's video, then please do leave a like, and indeed if you do or have tried out any of these clubs and had European success with them in the past, let us know that story down in the comments section. While you're here, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already for more guides like this one, for our guide to international management, for our guide to youth academies, and for our Let's Play series as well. Lots of Football Manager 2021 content coming your way, so make sure you click on that red subscribe button. But for now, I'm Dodgy Gamer, thank you so much for watching, see you again soon.